So do you want to be a Jojo larper? Well, look no further. Jojolion is one of those parts that everyone has heard of, but almost nobody has actually read. So today, I'll give you everything you need to know about this part as we speedrun this series and I go over the complete story of Jojolion in about 10 or so minutes. Let's get right into it. We start this series in one of the strangest ways a manga can start, even by JoJo standards, where we're introduced to our JoJo of this part as he literally emerges from the ground with no clothes on. But that's not all, because aside from having no memories and how he got here, he also has 4 balls. Yeah, you heard me right. He has 1 shaft with 4 balls. Let's move on. We're already a few pages in and we're already faced with the manga infamous amnesia plotline, as he has absolutely no memories of who he is, why he's here, or also why he hasn't subscribed to the YouTube channel Otaking yet. When he emerges, however, he does already meet his waifu, or I mean just a girl named Yasuho, who takes an interest in him and decides to help him find out who he is. Josuke and Yasuho go to the hospital where they discover one clue to find out who he is. His hat, which they trace back to the shop it was bought from, and when they go there, the seller is like, "This hat? Yeah, I remember this. I sold this hat to a guy a few days ago and what was his name? Oh yeah, it's Yoshikage Kira." Boom, case closed, story over, we already found out his identity. Well, not really. This is a JoJo series. Nothing is ever going to be that simple. They follow this lead to go to Kira's apartment and there's just a girl just chilling in the bathtub. But it's actually a setup from the upstairs neighbor named Ojiro, who actually hates Kira and he's wanting to kill him. Josuke gets a fight against Ojiro's stand power, where Josuke unleashes his stand of soft and wet, which is the power of bubbles. Well, not just normal bubbles, it's bubbles that can steal property of things like friction, vision, sound, and other abstract things like that. But with this, he's able to take the friction away from the upstairs floor, making Ojiro fall down off the balcony as Josuke hits him with an aura barrage and pretty easily defeats him. But before actually finishing him off, Ojiro tells him, "Wait, you're not even actually Kira," and he can even prove it as Kira has a sculpture of his own hand in his apartment, and of course, it doesn't match up to Josuke. So if Josuke is not Kira, well then, who is he? Well, it's about to get complicated, but just follow along with me. With nowhere to go, Yasuho takes Josuke to an old friend's house of the Higashikata family, who are big ballin' living in the mansion, and despite this weird 4-ball guy just suddenly being introduced to this family, they just accept him in and tell him that he's now part of the family. But he doesn't get to stay here for completely free, as he has 2 rules to staying in this house. The first one is to take care of the youngest daughter, Daya, and the second is to not go upstairs. So Josuke just decides to speedrun breaking all of the rules in the house, and well, by taking care of Daya, he gets a little freaky with her. She's 16, by the way. Araki always has some sort of freaky scene in every part of JoJo's. I don't know why, to be honest. And then right after that, he breaks the only other rule by going immediately upstairs with her. Yeah, 4-ball man here just got taken into a family and immediately broke all the rules. But instead of finding some weird freak dungeon or something like that, he instead finds the office room of the household father Norisuke, where he finds a book of the Steel Ball Run race results. And I won't spoil it in this video, so you don't have to worry, but let's just say their grandfather Norisuke the First was in the Steel Ball Run and he at least won a little bit of money, which is why the Higashikata family is so rich. But also in the same book, he finds a family tree showing the Higashikata family is actually connected to the Joestar bloodline through a link between Johnny Joestar, yes, the same Johnny from Steel Ball Run, who actually married Norisuke the First's daughter, and from this down the family tree from Johnny is where Yoshikage was born, showing a link between Yoshikage Kira to the Higashikata household, giving Josuke a hint on where he can investigate to learn more about himself. But since Kira is presumably dead, they follow this lead through his mother, Holly Joestar Kira, who is actually still alive but in a hospital right now. Josuke heads to the hospital to go talk to Holly, but on the way he is attacked by a stand user that is revealed to be the household maid Nijimura, who really looks like a genderbent Jotaro, but she is actually trying to stop Josuke as she is Holly's daughter and she wants to protect her mom, which also means that she is also a Joestar, and not only that, she is also Josuke's sister, as Josuke really is Yoshikage Kira. Yeah, that was like 2 bombshells of information revealed in like 2 pages of the manga. To explain this, she takes Josuke back to the Wall Eyes, which is the area where he was found at, and she explains that he is a fusion of 2 people, and when 2 things are buried in the Wall Eyes, they become fused together, which means that 2 bodies were buried here together, one of them being Yoshikage Kira, but the other half, she actually doesn't know who that is. And with this, we're now done with the amnesia plotline, but now we have the who is the other half of Josuke plotline. Josuke returns to the Higashikata household and begins trying to learn more about who his other half might be. And where do you go to learn things? School, of course. He heads to school and he's accompanied by the household brother Joshu, who has the top 10 worst haircuts of all time in Jojo, by the way. But on the way, they reach Shakedown Road, where basically they get scanned by a bunch of people. That's not really important. The important thing here is they find a monument of the Joestar Jizo, which is a statue who has a sailor hat very similar to Josuke's. Yasuho is stalking Josuke's location at this time, and she uses her Paisley Park, which is basically her stand that is like a GPS/search engine thing. I guess we'll just call it Yasuho GPT. But she does some research on the monument, finding out that it's dedicated to Johnny Josar, where we learn how he's even related to this part. Johnny came to Japan after the Seal Ball Run race to save his wife Rina from a sickness, but in trying to save her, he triggered the sickness to go to his son, George Joestar, or as you Full Metal Alchemist fans call it, the result of an equivalent exchange. In an attempt to then save his son from the same sickness, Johnny uses his Tusk ability, which takes the sickness from his son and then transfers it to Johnny, as his stand of Tusk shoots it into Johnny's head, where he is killed. And then a boulder falls on him for some reason. Yeah, just F's in chat for Johnny. Wanting to know more about his other half, Yasuho and Josuke head back to the Higashikata household, where Yasuho becomes trapped into a cellar where she meets the youngest son, Tsurugi. And yes, this is a boy, not a girl. It's like some family superstition or something like that. And he's also sick with some sort of rock disease. Keep that in mind, that'll be very important at the end of this series. But in the cellar, Yasuho is also attacked by a person named Yotsuya, who is actually the architect who had designed the Higashikata mansion. The next day, Josuke sees Tsurugi walking towards the cellar and begins to follow him, where he bumps into Norisuke, and Josuke, well, he has 4 balls, remember, so he has no fear, and he straight up tells Norisuke, "Your whole family is suspicious and I want to know more, so I'm investigating Tsurugi to see what info I can find." With Norisuke saying, "Well, if you're gonna stalk my grandson, I'm gonna at least follow you." They both go towards the cellar where they face off against Yotsuya, and they try to escape by going inside the cellar, but Tsurugi locks him out, saying that Yotsuya had told him that he has some sort of miracle fruit that can cure Tsurugi's disease, but he'll only give it to him if Yotsuya gets to slime out Josuke. Oh yeah, side note, the disease that Tsurugi has is some sort of rock disease that is passed down through the generations of the Higashikata family and can only be cured by equivalent in exchange. After Josuke and Norisuke defeat Yotsuya, they notice 2 important things. Yotsuya, when defeated, turns into a rock. Like literally, he is a rock human, and they also see that he has a piece of the fruit which drops into the water, which they're able to retrieve. Despite the Higashikata family being rich from owning a fruit company, Norisuke somehow doesn't know what this fruit is, which yeah, he just might not be that good at his job, I guess. But they decide to go back to the Higashikata fruit parlor to do some research, where the eldest son and the father of Tsurugi arrives, named Jobin, pulling up in a Lamborghini aura farming, and honestly, he looks kinda edgy. His favorite band must be like My Chemical Romance. They don't find anything about the fruit, but as they're leaving, Josuke detects the fruit scent on Jobin, making him realize that Jobin must know something more about this and he actually might be an op. But instead of just asking him directly, he goes back to Tsurugi, making him give up his own dad's weakness, where Tsurugi reveals Jobin's weakness, his beetle collection. So what does Josuke do? He rage baits Jobin back in the Higashikata household to challenge him to a beetle fight. And yes, we get several chapters of a detailed JoJo fight about beetles wrestling. And as JoJo fans like to call this is JoJo's beetle tendency. So all of you LARPers can now say that too, and people will think that you actually read Jojolion. After Josuke wins, he wins a wager of Jobin's Lamborghini, where yes, Josuke just won a $400,000 car for winning a beetle fight, but he gives the keys over to Yasuho, which she uses her Yasuho GPT to investigate the car's data event recorder, where she finds out that before going to the fruit parlor, Jobin was dealt some substances by someone on the street corner, or rather they were dealing him this mysterious fruit. Oh yeah, that timer in the corner, you thought that this meant that I was near the end of this series? Well, this is a very long manga, and it also has Kira in it, so you know what that means.
キラークイーン第3の爆弾バイツァーダスト
Okay, we have a little bit more time now, let's continue on. Yasuho and Tsurugi go to this corner to find the man who is named Aisho, who is also a rock human similar to Yotsuya, and after a quick stand battle, they defeat him by getting him isekai. Like literally, they trick him to getting in the run over by a bus. The most important thing here though is that they learn that this fruit is named the Locacaca fruit, and they also find out that Jobin is confirmed to be an enemy, and he is actually working with these rock humans to smuggle these fruit in a trading scheme for money. So does that mean that Jobin is the main villain of this part? Well, just keep watching. Later, Josuke and Yasuho go on a little date together where he sings to her about fried chicken and fries. Yeah, he's actually like the Riz god here because she actually loves this. But Josuke fumbles the bag here honestly, and while he is on a date with Yasuho, he spots a strange girl around the corner and he just straight up leaves Yasuho to go follow after her, which is a complete L by the way. But this girl refers to Josuke as her Sechan, but she says that he doesn't look exactly like her Sechan, and she pulls out her phone pulling up a picture of her alongside Yoshikage Kira along with another man, showing this to Josuke saying that her Sechan is named Josefumi Kujo, with Josuke realizing that this is his other half. So boom, we now have this revealed about who Josuke really is. So for real this time, the series is over. Well, now we have to find out how Kira and Josefumi fused and became Josuke, and now we start the how did Yoshikage Kira and Josefumi become Josuke plotline. Later on in the Higashikata household, the eldest daughter, Hato, brings home her boyfriend, Damo. Yeah, this guy is ugly, and he looks like a thumb. Oh yeah, she also confirms what you're thinking. They actually did it. Anyways, surprise, surprise, he's a stand user who almost solos the entire Higashikata household. Why does he do this? Not only to clap Hato, but also because he knows that Josuke is Josefumi and he wants to get revenge on Josefumi. Why does he want to do this? Backstory time. Let's speedrun this. Back in the day, Kira and Josefumi were actually best bros, and Kira's mom Holly was sick with the rock disease. But they had a plan to find this mysterious Locacaca fruit, that way they can heal her. They stalk Aisho and they steal the fruit from him, but when they're later on a boat, they are ambushed by Yotsuya and Damo, who want to get the fruit back from them. And with no other choice, Kira only sees one way to get out of the situation: sheer heart attack. He blows up the ship and everything around them, severely injuring everyone, with Josefumi barely alive and dragging Kira onto the shoreline, where Josefumi tries to heal his best bro by using the Locacaca fruit, but they both end up dying. But with them ingesting the fruit and going into the ground, this triggered the equivalent in exchange, and they go into the ground and well, you know what happens from there. Back in the household, Josuke and Hato team up, with Hato defeating Damo with her stand that lets her stretch her heels. Like actually, her stand power just stretches her heels and she can somehow kill him with that. Imagine getting a stand power and your power is stretching your heels. Anyways, now things are getting real and they realize they have to find this Locacaca fruit as soon as possible as more villains are showing up, with Noriyusuke being like, hey, I know this plant appraiser guy who might be able to find this for us. Like bro, we're halfway through the series and you just now say this. But before they leave, Norisuke's ex-wife named Kato just casually shows back up at home after 15 years of being away. From where? Prison. Why was she in prison? She killed someone. Who? A child. Yeah, really was because she took the fall for Jobin, who killed his bully as a kid by accident, but anyways. Josuke and Yasuho find the plant appraiser named Rai and they fight more rock humans, where Rai is able to find out that the Locacaca fruit is currently growing in the Higashikata orchard in their backyard, and they just need to find the branch that it's on to harvest it and then grow their own fruit. But by the time they arrive back to the household, they are attacked by poor Tom. Which yes, he looks like the Dominican baby, but he's actually a grown human. But poor Tom is actually sent here by Jobin, who is trying to stop Josuke from finding the fruit, but when poor Tom takes the Locacaca branch and he's running away towards an ambulance, he gets shot out of nowhere. Like straight up, Josuke is chasing him and then boom, Poor Tom is shot out of nowhere, and then someone from the ambulance just takes the branch and drives off. So now we're done with the Kira and Josefumi becoming Josuke plotline, and now we have the hospital plotline. And basically, everything you learned is out of the window, because from here on out, everything is just gonna go all over the place, so just follow along with me. Coincidentally, Jobin's wife, Mitsuba, actually goes to the hospital frequently where she sees a doctor, where she's actually been receiving treatments of the Locacaca fruit, and while she's there, she bumps into Yasuho, who's investigating the hospital as well. And after fighting Mitsuba's doctor, who's a stand user of course, they find a hidden hospital room just full of these Locacaca fruits. But they're like a less powerful variant, so they're not that important. But what's important here is while Yasuho is at the hospital, she bumps into her ex-boyfriend Toru. But I mean, he must not be that important, right? Right? Moving on. Meanwhile, in the Higashikata household, Norisuke is dead. But that happens in the future, we'll get back to that. Currently what's happening is that Jobin has obtained a piece of the Locacaca branch, and he's currently growing his own new fruit, but we'll get back to that as well. To find out what's going on with this hospital and who took the branch, Rai and Josuke try to follow the hospital director Satoru, but whenever they chase after him, bad things just keep happening, such as rain falling down that ends up severely injuring Josuke. But he just so happens to be out of hospital already, so he gets treated pretty quickly. A few days later, Josuke wakes up in the hospital and he falls off of his bed, which severely injures him again. But the person you least expect comes to his rescue. His mom, or well, half mom, kind of mom, I don't know. Holly Joestar Kira is in the hospital due to her sickness, and she comes to help Josuke recover. At the same time this is going on, the hospital director is doing a presentation, and he announces a new form of the Locacaca fruit, which is some miracle thing that can heal any sort of sickness, for a lot of money of course. Holly luckily has some of this, and she gives it over to Josuke to use to heal his wounds as he now sets out to defeat the director. Oh yeah, we just now get the reveal that Satoru is the main villain of this part, but even more, he's not even the user, he is the stand himself. Yeah, we're at the end of the series and we just learned the main villain's stand ability named Wonder of You, and basically his ability is Calamity. If you pursue him in any way, you die. While that's going on, in the Higashikata household, Yasuho returns and she's under attack by, well, who else other than her ex-boo thing Toru, which yes, he is the user of Wonder of You, which again, end of the series, we're just now learning this. Now, two things go on at the same time, so stay with me now. In the household, Jobin slimes out his own dad Norisuke for trying to stop him from growing the Locacaca fruit, with the Higashikata household basically in shambles because of this. While Yasuho is also outside begging for help as she's also under attack by Jobin, while Toru is nearby listening to the song Wonder of You. You probably have seen this panel before, so now all of you LARPers can know where it comes from. But while that's going on, back in the household, Wonder of You slimes out Jobin for trying to take the fruit. Yeah, Wonder of You can be in multiple places at one time. It's honestly a super broken stand power. In the hospital, Josuke starts to fight against Wonder of You when he's saved by Rai. And then Rai dies. Of course there has to be a Jobro death this part, but as he's dying, he tells Josuke something about his bubbles. They spin. No, not like a spin dash, like the spin from Steel Ball Run. Nijimura then comes to save Josuke as well, as she was checking on her mother Holly, but then she dies too. I actually felt more sad about her death than Rai's, to be honest. Now back to the household, Yasuho finds the Locacaca fruit growing on the branch that Jobin had, which Toru is trying to take from her. Joshu actually comes in to try and save Yasuho, but well, he kinda sucks and he just gets defeated pretty easily. So he literally goes absolutely fucking crazy and tries to attack Yasuho to get the fruit to heal himself. And yeah, he just gets defeated again. But out of nothing but literally pure coincidence, as all this is going on, you literally won't guess what happens. A plane door literally falls from the sky, slamming into the Higashikata household, just throwing even more things into just pure chaos. Back in the hospital, Josuke awakens his sand Soft and Wet into Soft and Wet Requiem. No wait, Soft and Wet Part 2. Wait, no, that's not right. Soft and Wet Go Beyond. Basically, his bubbles now have the power of the spin and they can't be detected. Now, two things happen at the exact same time. Toru takes the fruit from Yasuho, so she sends her Yasuho GPT, which goes into Josuke's phone in the hospital, and stick with me here, Josuke fires a bubble that travels through his phone, which is connected to Yasuho GPT, that shoots out from her phone like a Kamehameha beam, which she angles towards Toru that for the first time actually lands a hit on him. Toru is hurt and he crawls into the garage that is half destroyed, where he meets Kato, who does the most clutch thing here, and she pushes Toru into Tsurugi and forces them both to eat a Locacaca fruit, which triggers an equivalent exchange, healing Tsurugi's disease and passing it on to Toru, where he dies. And he's killed by a side character, but because she had attacked him, Kato dies as well. But it's not over yet. Toru may be dead, but Wonder of You isn't, because Calamity is forever, I guess. He's now at the Higashikata household to finish the job for Toru. How the stand lives without the user, don't question it too much, but before he can do anything, the hero All Might, Josuke arrives and shoots his spin bubble and defeats him. And for all this, Josuke gets to hug his waifu Yasuho as a reward. And wow, look at the timer, I did that in exactly 10 minutes, or something like that. But with this, you all now can officially LARP as a Jojolion reader.